Welcome to Monk's Moon Temple. Picture yourself standing at the base of a mountain. The path winds upward, disappearing into mist. You can see other travelers at various points along the trail. Some just beginning, others already halfway up, a few barely visible near the summit. Here's what you notice. The higher they climb, the fewer companions walk beside them. This isn't a story about loneliness. It's a teaching about the nature of any genuine path. Whether you're deepening a meditation practice, mastering a craft, or simply learning to be present with your own mind. The Buddha himself discovered this after leaving the palace after studying with the greatest teachers of his time. He sat alone beneath the Bodhi tree. No one could take that final step for him. In the Dhammapada he teaches you yourself must make the effort. The Buddhas are only teachers. Why would anyone choose this path? Why walk towards something that appears so solitary? If it feels right, share in the comments where you're listening from right now. Let's create a moment of connection across the world. Maybe you're settling in for the evening or beginning your morning or finding a quiet pocket in a busy day. Wherever you are, you're welcome here. Because here's what nobody tells you about that loneliness on the mountain path. It looks like loneliness from the outside. That's what people see when they watch someone walk higher up the mountain path. They see fewer companions. They see someone choosing to practice alone, eat alone, wake alone. They see what appears to be isolation. But here's the paradox that reveals itself only to those who actually make the climb. The loneliest you'll ever feel is in a crowded room pretending to be someone you're not. Think about it. You've experienced this. Surrounded by people at a party, in a meeting, scrolling through hundreds of social connections, and yet feeling profoundly, achingly separate. Everyone's talking, but no one's really present. Everyone's connected, but something essential is missing. That's loneliness. Now picture this. Sitting by yourself in the early morning. Just you and your breath. No noise, no performance, no pretending, just the simple fact of being alive, being aware, being here. That's aloneness. The difference isn't about how many people are in the room. It's about whether you're home inside yourself. A monk wakes up alone. Not because connection is forbidden, but because the morning practice doesn't require an audience. He walks to the meditation hall alone, not out of sadness, but because the path beneath his feet is his own to walk. He eats his meal in silence, not because he dislikes people, but because he's learning to be truly present with what is. This is what life looks like at higher altitudes. At the base of the mountain, everyone moves together. There's comfort in the crowd, safety in numbers, validation in shared direction. No one questions whether this is the right path because look, everyone else is here too. But as you climb, something shifts. The path narrows. Not everyone wants to continue. Some turn back, saying it's already good enough here. Others stop to rest and never resume the climb. A few keep going, but at their own pace, on their own timeline. You start to notice the people beside you are fewer. The conversations become less frequent. There's less chatter about the weather, about other people, about things that don't really matter. And here's what's strange. You don't miss it as much as you thought you would because something else is happening in the space where small talk used to be. You're starting to hear something you couldn't hear before. The sound of your own breath, the rhythm of your own steps, the voice of your own inner knowing that's been trying to speak to you for years. The Buddha understood this completely in the Dhammapada. He offers this teaching. If you do not find a prudent companion who will associate with you, who behaves well and is wise, walk alone like a king who has renounced his kingdom or like an elephant roaming at will in the forest. Walk alone like an elephant. Not because other beings don't matter. They matter immensely. But because some journeys require you to know your own strength, your own direction, your own capacity to stand steady. When the ground beneath you shifts, an elephant doesn't roam alone out of fear or weakness. It roams alone because it knows itself. It doesn't need the herd's approval to know which direction to move. It doesn't need constant company to feel secure in its own presence. This is the beautiful paradox. The more comfortable you become with aloneness, the more genuinely you can connect with others. When you're no longer desperate for connection to fill some inner void, you can meet people without needing them to be anything other than what they are. When you're at peace in your own company, you stop performing. Stop pretending. Stop exhausting yourself trying to be impressive. You just are. And ironically, that's when real connection becomes possible. But the people at the base of the mountain can't see this yet. From their vantage point, walking alone looks like a loss. They see someone leaving the comfort of the group and think how sad, how isolated, what's wrong with them that they can't just be happy here with the rest of us. They don't understand that you're not leaving because you hate them. You're climbing because something inside you needs to see what's higher. You're walking alone because that's the only way to discover what you're actually capable of. Here's what they can't see from down there. The view. When you're at the base, surrounded by others, your perspective is limited to what everyone around you can see. The conversations are about the immediate, the obvious, the shared experience of being in the crowd. But climb higher and you start to see patterns they can't see yet. You notice how the river flows through the valley. You observe how the clouds move across the sky in ways you never noticed before. You understand suddenly how all these separate things are actually connected. The mountain, the valley, the river, the trees, the people below. And when you speak from that height, your voice carries differently. It's not that you're better than anyone else. It's that you can see more clearly because you've gone to the trouble of climbing high enough to gain perspective. But here's the challenging part. When you try to share what you've seen, many won't understand. They'll say you've changed. They'll say you're not fun anymore. They'll say you think you're better than them now. They'll feel the distance between your experience and theirs. And instead of being curious about what you've discovered, they'll feel criticized by your growth. This is the hardest part of the climb. Not the physical challenge of putting one foot in front of the other, not the thinning air or the steepening path, but the realization that the people you love might not follow you. That some relationships were only built to exist at base camp and they can't survive the altitude change. The monk knows this. He's lived it. He spends most of his time alone, not as punishment, but as practice. When he wakes, there's no one to perform for. When he trains, there's no one to impress. When he sits in meditation, there's no one to validate whether he's doing it right. Just him and the practice. Just him and his breath. Just him and the slowly growing awareness of what's actually happening inside his own mind and body. This is how insight develops. Not through reading about other people's experiences, though that can point the way. Not through collecting techniques and teachings, though those can be useful tools. But through the direct, intimate, unavoidable encounter with yourself that only happens in solitude. When you're alone, really alone, you can't hide from yourself anymore. All the habits you use to avoid discomfort, scrolling, talking, planning, worrying, reminiscing. They don't work as well when there's no one around to distract you. The restlessness you usually outrun by keeping busy suddenly has nowhere to go. The questions you've been avoiding suddenly become impossible to ignore. Who am I when no one's watching? What do I actually want underneath all the expectations I've absorbed? What am I afraid of? What am I running from? These questions don't have easy answers. They can't be solved by Googling or asking for advice. They require something else entirely. The willingness to sit with not knowing, to stay present with discomfort, to let the truth reveal itself slowly over time. This is the work of the mountain path. And it's why the climb gets lonelier the higher you go. Not because connection stops mattering, but because the kind of connection you need changes. At the base, you needed people to tell you it's okay to climb. Halfway up, you needed people to encourage you to keep going. But near the summit, you need something different entirely. You need the strength to trust your own experience. You need the courage to value your own direct knowing over other people's second-hand opinions. You need the groundedness to stand alone without feeling lonely. This doesn't mean you become cold or disconnected. If anything, the opposite happens. The more at peace you are with aloneness, the more capacity you have for genuine warmth toward others. The less you need their approval, the more freely you can offer them compassion. The less you're performing for an audience, the more authentic your presence becomes. You become like that elephant, powerful, grounded, moving through the world with natural grace. Not needing to prove anything, not afraid of your own company, not diminished by solitude, but strengthened by it. And here's what's remarkable. Once you learn to walk comfortably alone, you discover you were never actually separate at all. The same breath moving through you is moving through every living being. The same awareness lighting up your experience is the same awareness everywhere. The same struggles you face in your practice are the same struggles every human has faced since the beginning. You're alone, yes, but you're alone together with everyone who has ever walked this path. The Buddha walked it. Every meditation master who came after walked it. Every person who's ever chosen depth over distraction, truth over comfort, presence over performance, they've all walked this same lonely, beautiful, necessary path. You're in excellent company, even when no one else is in the room. So, the question isn't really whether to walk alone. If you're serious about understanding yourself, about developing genuine wisdom, about moving beyond surface-level living, you will walk alone. That's not optional. It's the nature of the path. The question is whether you'll resist that aloneness or learn to make peace with it. Whether you'll spend your energy wishing for more company, or whether you'll use your solitude for what it's actually offering, a chance to know yourself completely. And this is why your morning matters more than you think. The moment you open your eyes, a choice is already being made. You might not realize it's a choice. It feels automatic, habitual, just what you do. But in that first moment of waking consciousness, you're setting the direction for everything that follows. This is why morning matters. Not because there's something magical about dawn, though there's beauty in it. Not because you need to become a morning person if you're not one naturally. But because how you transition from sleep to waking, from unconsciousness to awareness shapes the quality of your entire day. The Buddha understood this deeply. In the Anguttara Nikaya, he teaches, ardently do today what must be done. Who knows tomorrow death comes? Not to frighten us but to wake us up. To wake us up to the preciousness of this day, this moment, this breath. So let's talk about something practical, something you can actually do tomorrow morning and the morning after that and the one after that. Something simple but profound enough to shift your experience from the inside out. In Buddhist understanding, we have three primary sources of energy that sustain our practice and our life: breath, lifestyle, and nourishment. Think of these as three rivers feeding into the same lake. If one river runs dry, the lake can survive for a while on the other two. But if all three rivers are flowing clear and strong, the lake stays full, vibrant, alive. Let's start with breath because it's the most immediate, the most accessible, and the one you can work with right now without changing anything external in your life. Here's what happens in most mornings. You wake up and within seconds, sometimes before your feet touch the floor, you're already somewhere else mentally. Thinking about what needs to be done today. Replaying yesterday's conversations. Checking the time and calculating how much sleep you got. Reaching for your phone. Your body is here waking up in this bed. But your attention has already scattered into 1,000 fragments. This is the pattern most people live their entire lives inside of: physically present, mentally absent. Now imagine something different. You wake up before checking the time, before making any plans, before doing anything at all. You notice your breathing. That's it. That's the entire practice. You notice air is entering your body without you having to think about it, without you having to earn it, without you having to be worthy of it. Breath is happening. You're alive. Stay with that for just 3 breaths. Breathing in, you know you're breathing in. Breathing out, you know you're breathing out. This is Anapana, mindfulness of breathing. The foundational practice the Buddha taught. The one he returned to again and again. The one that can carry you all the way to the deepest insights if you stay with it. It sounds almost too simple, doesn't it? Just noticing breath, just being present with the most basic fact of being alive. How could something so ordinary be the foundation of genuine transformation? Because it brings you back. Back from the future you're anxious about, back from the past you're ruminating on. Back from the story about who you should be and what you should be doing. Back to the one thing that's actually real. This moment, this breath, this body breathing. Try this tomorrow morning and you'll understand immediately what makes it powerful. When you first wake up, before your mind has fully engaged with its usual patterns, there's a kind of openness, a softness, a brief window when you're not yet fully defended against experience. If you can meet yourself in that window with awareness instead of distraction, something shifts. So, here's the practice. Step by step. You wake up. Maybe there's an alarm. Maybe you wake naturally. Doesn't matter. Your eyes open. Before anything else, notice breathing is already happening. Place your hand on your belly if that helps. Feel it rise with the in-breath, fall with the out-breath. Count if your mind needs something to hold on to. Breathing in 1. Breathing out 1. Breathing in 2. Breathing out 2. Up to 10. Then start over. Or simply stay with the sensation, the coolness of air entering your nostrils, the warmth of air leaving. The gentle expansion and contraction of your chest and belly. Just this for 3 minutes. 3 minutes before you check your phone. 3 minutes before you start planning your day. 3 minutes of being present with the simple fact of being alive. This isn't luxury. This isn't self-indulgence. This is training your mind to stay where you actually are, instead of constantly leaking energy into where you're not. Now, if you can, and this makes a profound difference, get up and step outside. Not to exercise, not to check the weather, not to do anything productive, just to breathe fresh air. You've been breathing recycled air all night in a closed room. Your body needs something new, something vital, something that reminds you there's a whole world beyond your thoughts. Stand outside for just a few minutes. Feel the temperature on your skin. Maybe it's cold, maybe it's warm, maybe somewhere in between. Notice the quality of light. Dawn has a different feeling than full morning. Listen to what sounds are present. Birds, wind, distant traffic. Silence and breathe deliberately. 9 deep breaths is a good practice. Slow inhale filling your lungs completely. Slow exhale releasing everything 9 times. Or try alternate nostril breathing. Close your right nostril with your thumb. Breathe in through the left. Close your left nostril with your ring finger. Breathe out through the right. Breathe in through the right. Out through the left. Continue for a few minutes. This isn't mystical. It's physiological. You're waking up your respiratory system, increasing oxygen to your brain, activating your parasympathetic nervous system. The part of you that knows how to be calm and alert at the same time. But here's where most people get derailed, and we need to talk about it honestly. The phone. You know this moment. You've lived it 1,000 times. You wake up with some intention. Maybe to meditate. Maybe to have a peaceful morning. Maybe just to ease into the day slowly. But within minutes, sometimes within seconds, your hand reaches for your phone. Just checking the time. Just seeing if anything important came through. Just a quick look and then you're gone. 30 minutes disappear into scrolling through other people's lives, other people's opinions. Other people's emergencies that have nothing to do with you. Your attention, that precious limited resource you'll spend your whole day trying to manage, gets completely fragmented before you've even left your bed. This isn't a moral judgment. It's an observation about cause and effect. When you begin your day by immediately giving your attention to external input, news, messages, social media, email, you're training your mind that being present with itself isn't valuable. You're reinforcing the pattern of looking outside yourself for meaning, for validation, for a sense of what matters. The Buddha called this sense desire. Not just physical craving but the mind's habitual reaching. Reaching towards stimulation, towards something other than what's present right now. And here's what's insidious about it. It feels productive. It feels like you're getting informed, staying connected, being responsible. But notice what it actually does to your energy. After 15 minutes of scrolling, how do you feel? More grounded or more scattered? More peaceful or more agitated? More connected to yourself or more distant from your own center? You already know the answer. So, here's the practice. Create a boundary. The phone stays off or at least out of reach for the first 30 minutes of your day. No checking, no looking, no quick glances. Those 30 minutes belong to you establishing your ground, finding your center, remembering who you are before the world starts making demands. Instead of scrolling, you breathe. Instead of consuming information, you sit with yourself. Instead of fragmenting your attention across 100 different concerns, you practice being whole. This is lifestyle as practice. It's not about becoming rigid or creating more rules to stress about. It's about recognizing that every choice you make either supports your deeper intention or undermines it. Every action either strengthens your capacity to be present or trains you in distraction. And morning is where you set that pattern for the entire day. Now, nourishment, the third source of energy. What you put into your body first thing in the morning matters. Not because there's one right diet that everyone should follow, but because your body needs fuel, and the quality of that fuel affects the quality of your energy throughout the day. In Buddhist monasteries, the morning meal is eaten in silence, slowly with full attention, not as a rule to follow, but as a practice of presence. Each bite is tasted. Each swallow is noticed. There's gratitude for the food, for the hands that prepared it, for the earth that grew it, for the conditions that made this moment of nourishment possible. You don't have to eat in silence if that's not realistic for your life. But you can bring that quality of attention to your breakfast. Sit down to eat instead of eating while doing 3 other things. Notice the colors, the textures, the flavors. Chew slowly enough to actually taste what you're eating. Feel the nourishment entering your body. This isn't about perfect food choices. It's about being present with the reality that you're a living being who needs nourishment and receiving that nourishment with awareness instead of just shoveling fuel into your body while your mind is already racing ahead to the next thing. So we have breath, lifestyle, nourishment. 3 rivers feeding the lake of your daily energy. Work with one and you'll notice a difference. Work with all 3 and you're establishing a foundation that can support genuine transformation over time. But here's what's crucial to understand. This isn't about adding more tasks to your morning routine. It's not about waking up earlier to squeeze in meditation and breathing exercises and mindful eating while feeling stressed about getting everything done. It's about quality, not quantity. Even 3 conscious breaths are more valuable than 30 minutes of distracted meditation. Even 5 minutes of true presence with your breakfast. That's more nourishing than 20 minutes of eating while scrolling. The practice is presence itself. Being here with this breath in this body in this moment, that's the whole practice. Everything else is just different doors into that same essential coming home. Tomorrow morning try it. Wake up and notice breath is happening. 3 conscious breaths before anything else. Step outside if you can. Breathe fresh air. Feel yourself in a body that's part of a larger world. Leave your phone untouched for 30 minutes. Eat your breakfast like it matters. That's it. That's the practice. Not complicated, but also not easy. Because simple things become difficult when you're fighting against years of habitual distraction. But if you stay with it, something remarkable begins to happen. The quality of your mornings changes. The quality of your days changes. And slowly over time, the quality of your entire life begins to shift. Not because you've added something new, but because you've started showing up for what's already here. This is how the path begins. 1 breath, 1 morning, 1 conscious choice at a time. But morning is just the beginning of understanding your inner world. You've established the morning practice, breath, presence, nourishment. Now, let's talk about what you actually do with that awareness throughout your day. Because here's what most people discover. Knowing you should be mindful and actually being mindful are 2 completely different things. You can read 100 books about meditation. You can understand the theory perfectly. You can agree that presence matters, that awareness is valuable, that living consciously is better than living on autopilot. But then you try to actually pay attention to your experience, and within 30 seconds your mind has wandered off into planning dinner or replaying a conversation from 3 days ago or wondering what that noise was. Or thinking about being present. This is completely normal. This is what minds do. This is why we practice. The Buddha offered a framework for working with awareness that's beautifully practical and surprisingly comprehensive. It's called the 4 Foundations of Mindfulness. And it gives us 4 different doorways into presence. 4 places we can anchor our attention when it starts to drift. Let's explore them one at a time. Not as theory but as living practice you can work with right now. The first foundation is awareness of the body. Right now as you're listening to this you have a body. That sounds obvious, but notice how much of the time are you actually aware of having a body. Most of the day we live almost entirely in our heads. We're thinking, planning, remembering, imagining, treating the body like it's just a vehicle carrying our head around, only noticing it when it hurts or needs something. Body awareness means coming back to the direct physical experience of being alive right now. Feel your feet on the ground. Notice the weight of your body. Wherever you're sitting or standing, sense the temperature of the air on your skin. Be aware of your hands. Are they tense or relaxed? Warm or cool, still or moving? This isn't about judging what you find or trying to change anything. It's simply about noticing this is what's actually happening in my body right now. When you're walking, know that you're walking. Feel each step. The heel touching down, the weight rolling forward, the toes pushing off. When you're sitting, know that you're sitting. When you're lying down, know that you're lying down. This sounds simple, and it is simple, but it's also profound. Because the moment you bring awareness to your body, you're no longer lost in the story your mind is telling. You're here in direct contact with present moment reality. The second foundation is awareness of feelings. And this needs some clarification because it's often misunderstood. In Buddhism, when we talk about feelings in this context, we're not talking about emotions like anger or joy or sadness. We're talking about something more basic. The feeling tone of every experience. Every single moment of experience has a feeling tone. Pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. You take a sip of water. There's a feeling tone to that. Maybe pleasant if you're thirsty. Maybe neutral if you're not particularly focused on it. Maybe unpleasant if the water tastes off. You hear a sound. Pleasant. Unpleasant or neutral. You think a thought, same thing. This might seem trivial, but watch what happens. Your whole life is shaped by your reaction to these feeling tones. When something feels pleasant, you want more of it. You grasp, you chase, you try to hold on to it or repeat it. When something feels unpleasant, you want it to go away. You resist. You push against it. You try to avoid or escape it. When something feels neutral, you usually just zone out and miss it entirely. And this is where suffering comes from. Not from the feeling tones themselves, but from our unconscious reactions to them. Awareness of feeling tones means noticing pleasant, unpleasant or neutral. And then not automatically reacting. You feel an unpleasant sensation in your knee during meditation. Instead of immediately shifting position, you notice unpleasant. You stay present with it for a moment. You observe your mind's urge to move away from discomfort. And in that observation, you create a tiny space of freedom. You're no longer being unconsciously driven by attraction and aversion. You're aware of them, and awareness changes everything. The third foundation is awareness of mind states. What's the quality of your mind right now? Is it calm or agitated? Focused or scattered, expansive or contracted? Clear or clouded? Most people go through their entire day never asking this question. The mind is anxious and they think it's just who they are. The mind is scattered and they think that's just how Mondays feel. The mind is caught in desire or aversion or doubt, and they don't recognize these as passing states. They think these states are reality itself. But when you develop awareness of mind states, something powerful happens. You start to see that your mind is like weather. Sometimes it's stormy. Sometimes it's calm. Sometimes it's cloudy, sometimes clear. But you, the awareness that's noticing all of this, you're not the weather. You're the sky that holds all weather patterns without being changed by any of them. Right now, notice what's the weather in your mind. Not to change it, not to judge it, just to know it. Ah, anxiety is present right now. Ah, restlessness is here. Ah, calm is arising. Ah, doubt is visiting. The moment you can name the mind state, you've created space around it. You're no longer completely identified with it. It's a state passing through awareness, not the totality of who you are. The fourth foundation is awareness of mental objects, the patterns, habits, and tendencies that shape how we see the world. This is the deepest level of practice, and it includes things like noticing when the 5 hindrances are active. Sense desire, ill will, sloth and torpor, restlessness and worry, doubt. You're working on something and suddenly you have an intense urge to check your phone. That's sense desire arising. Someone cuts you off in traffic and anger flares. That's ill will. You sit down to meditate and can barely keep your eyes open. That's sloth and torpor. Your mind won't stop spinning through your to-do list. That's restlessness. You wonder if any of this practice actually matters. That's doubt. When you can recognize these patterns as they're happening, you stop being controlled by them. You see, oh, this is just doubt doing its thing. This is just restlessness. This is just the mind's habitual reaching toward distraction. And in seeing it, you have a choice. Not a choice to make it go away. You can't just will away doubt or restlessness. But a choice to not feed it, to not believe the story it's telling, to not let it completely hijack your attention. These 4 foundations, body, feeling tone, mind states, mental objects, they give you 4 different places to anchor your awareness throughout the day. When your mind wanders during meditation, you come back to the body, the breath, the sensations. When you're caught in craving or aversion, you notice the feeling tone underneath. When you're lost in anxiety, you step back and recognize anxious mind is present right now. When you're stuck in a habitual pattern, you see the pattern itself instead of just being swept along by it. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha teaches wisdom springs from meditation. Without meditation, wisdom wanes. Having known these 2 paths of progress and decline, let one so conduct oneself that wisdom may increase. This is why we practice awareness. Not to become perfect, not to transcend being human, but to increase wisdom, the capacity to see clearly what's actually happening and respond skillfully instead of reactively. Now, here's what's important to understand about developing this awareness. It happens in stages. At first, you're learning what to do. You're following instructions, trying to remember the steps, checking to see if you're doing it right. Maybe you're learning to meditate and you're constantly thinking, am I sitting correctly? Should my eyes be open or closed? What am I supposed to be paying attention to? Is this what mindfulness feels like? This is the first stage, learning the form. Your awareness is mostly on the external instruction. What the teacher said, what the book described, what you think it's supposed to be like. You're trying to copy something you've seen or heard. And that takes mental effort. This is normal and necessary. Everyone starts here. But it's exhausting and it doesn't feel natural yet. And honestly, it's not particularly pleasant because you're constantly evaluating yourself against some standard. Then with practice, you enter the second stage. The practice becomes more familiar, but your awareness is still divided. You don't have to think as much about what to do. You know how to sit, how to place your attention, how to work with your breath, but you're still checking in with yourself, still monitoring. Am I doing this right? Am I present? Wait, I'm not present. Okay, come back. Am I present now? Part of your attention is on the practice itself and part is on watching yourself practice. This is progress. You're developing meta-awareness, the ability to observe your own mind, but it's still effortful, still a bit self-conscious. And then if you stay with it long enough, something shifts. You enter the third stage. The practice becomes natural. You sit down to meditate and you don't have to think about what to do. Your body knows how to settle. Your breath knows how to deepen. Your mind knows how to return when it wanders. You're walking down the street and you're just naturally aware of your steps, of the air, of the sounds, of your mind's movements without having to force it or remember to do it. The practice has, as they say in martial arts, entered your flesh and blood. It's become part of your being. And here's what's remarkable about this stage. Your mind becomes free in a way it wasn't before. When you had to think about how to practice, your mental capacity was mostly consumed by that effort. But now that the practice is natural, that capacity is liberated, you can go deeper, you can see more subtly. You can notice things you couldn't notice before because you were too busy trying to be mindful to actually be mindful. This is when insight really begins to arise. Not because you're trying harder or being more disciplined, but because you've practiced consistently enough that awareness itself becomes your default mode instead of something you have to manufacture. You know this experience from other areas of your life. Think about learning to drive. At first, every movement required conscious attention. Pressing the gas pedal, checking mirrors, steering, signaling, watching for other cars. Your mind was completely occupied with just operating the vehicle. But after months and years of driving, something changed. Your body learned how to drive, and your conscious mind became free to listen to music, have conversations, observe the landscape, all while still driving skillfully. The same thing happens with awareness practice. At first, it takes all your concentration just to remember to be present. But with time and consistency, presence becomes your natural state. And that's when you can really begin to explore the depths of your experience. You start to notice patterns you never saw before. You catch yourself in habitual reactions before they fully take over. You feel the arising of anger or craving or fear with enough space to choose how to respond. You have moments, maybe brief at first, but unmistakable of being fully here, fully awake, completely absorbed in the simple reality of this breath, this step. This moment of being alive. Athletes call this flow state. Artists call it being in the zone. The Buddha called it samasati, right mindfulness. It's that quality of complete presence where the sense of being a separate self doing the activity starts to dissolve and there's just the activity itself happening through you. You're so fully present that thinking stops, planning stops, self-consciousness stops. There's just this: the brush moving across the canvas, the breath moving through the body, the words appearing on the page, the feet moving along the path. This is what's possible when awareness becomes natural rather than forced. But here's what you need to know. Getting to that third stage requires patience. It requires showing up day after day, even when it feels clunky and effortful and you're sure you're doing it wrong. There's no shortcut to embodiment. You can't skip the awkward beginner phase or the self-conscious intermediate phase. You have to walk through each stage trusting that if you keep practicing, the practice will ripen in its own time. So start simple. Start with body awareness. Just noticing sensations throughout your day. Then begin to notice feeling tones. Pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. Gradually add awareness of mind states. And over time you'll develop the capacity to see the deeper patterns and tendencies that shape your experience. This is the path. Not mystical, not magical. Just this steady, patient training of attention that slowly transforms how you meet every moment of your life. But this awareness reveals something most people fear to face. There's an old saying from the Shaolin tradition, demon hand, Buddha heart. On first hearing, it sounds almost contradictory. Demons and Buddhas don't belong in the same sentence, let alone in the same being. But stay with this for a moment because it points to something essential about the path. Something most spiritual teachings try to avoid but Buddhism meets directly. You can't see the proper light if you have never indulged in the very deepest dark times. Not indulged in the sense of wallowing or glorifying darkness, but in the sense of facing it fully, knowing it intimately. Understanding it from the inside rather than just trying to transcend it or pretend it isn't part of you. Let's start with what demon hand actually meant in its original context. In ancient China, certain monks developed training methods specifically designed to transform their hands into weapons. Not metaphorical weapons, actual physical capability to cause serious harm. They would strike wooden posts thousands of times until their knuckles hardened, their bones thickened, their pain tolerance expanded far beyond normal human limits. They practiced iron palm techniques, conditioning exercises where the hands gradually developed the capacity to break through wood, stone, even metal with a single strike. Some methods were even more extreme. Monks would soak their hands in herbal mixtures, then train by striking sand or gravel repeatedly. Over months and years, the skin would change texture. The nails would discolor and harden. The entire structure of the hand would transform. The result, a hand that looked almost inhuman. Darkened, gnarled, capable of delivering strikes that could disable an opponent with a single touch. A hand that if it simply scratched you could cause infection. A hand that if it struck a vital point could be lethal. This was the demon hand. The cultivated capacity for devastating harm. Now here's the question. Why would Buddhist monks, people dedicated to the path of non-harm, develop such capabilities? Because they understood something profound. True non-violence isn't the same as weakness. If you don't have the capacity to cause harm, choosing not to harm means nothing. There's no choice involved. You're simply incapable. And you call that incapacity virtue. But if you possess genuine power, the physical ability to hurt, to dominate, to destroy, and you choose not to use it, that choice carries weight. That's when compassion becomes real instead of just a nice idea you hold because you've never been tested. This is what demon hand Buddha heart really means. Cultivating the capacity for force while developing the wisdom and compassion to use that force only when absolutely necessary, and even then with restraint. The demon hand is power. The Buddha heart is the moral and ethical framework that governs how that power is used. And this principle extends far beyond martial arts into every aspect of human life. Right now, you have the capacity to cause harm. Maybe not with your physical hands, but with your words, your actions, your choices. You have the power to wound people emotionally, to betray trust, to act from selfishness or cruelty or indifference. You possess that capability right now. Every human does. The question isn't whether you have that capacity. You do. The question is what you choose to do with it. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha teaches greater in battle than the person who would conquer 1,000 people is the one who would conquer just oneself. Conquering yourself doesn't mean destroying your capacity for anger, for self-protection, for forceful action when it's needed. It means having that capacity fully available but under the guidance of wisdom rather than being driven by unconscious reactivity. This is why the first noble truth, the truth of suffering, begins the entire path. The Buddha didn't start by teaching about peace and bliss and enlightenment. He started by saying suffering exists. Look at it directly. Don't turn away. Don't pretend it's not there. Birth is suffering. Aging is suffering. Illness is suffering. Death is suffering. Being separated from what you love is suffering. Being stuck with what you hate is suffering. Not getting what you want is suffering. This isn't pessimism. It's honesty. And more than honesty, it's invitation. An invitation to stop pretending that the darkness isn't real. That difficulty isn't part of the path. That you can somehow cultivate genuine light without first acknowledging the shadows. Think about your own life for a moment. The times when you grew the most, were those the easy times? The times when everything was going smoothly and you felt comfortable and safe? Or were they the times when you faced something difficult? When you encountered your own limitations, when you had to confront parts of yourself you'd been avoiding? When you walked through loss or failure or fear and came out the other side changed? Everyone who genuinely radiates peace, who offers real wisdom, who has something substantive to teach about living, they've all walked through darkness. Not because darkness is virtuous in itself, but because you can't develop real strength, real compassion, real understanding without knowing difficulty intimately. Here's a universal moment you've probably lived. Someone says something that triggers intense anger in you. You feel it rising. That heat in your chest, that tightness in your jaw, that rush of energy that wants to strike back. In that moment, you have the capacity to cause harm. You could say the thing you know would hurt most. You could attack their vulnerability, their insecurity, their deepest wound. You have that power right there in your hands or in your mouth as the case may be, and you choose not to use it. Not because you're weak, not because you're suppressing yourself. Not because you're being a pushover, but because you understand that just because you can cause harm doesn't mean you should. That moment of choosing, that's demon hand, Buddha, heart in action. You're not denying your capacity for force. You're fully aware of it, fully in contact with it, and choosing in this specific moment to respond with restraint instead of reactivity. This is the cultivation of strength, not weakness. But here's what makes this challenging. You can't cultivate Buddha heart without first acknowledging demon hand. You can't develop genuine compassion without first being honest about your capacity for the opposite. If you try to be peaceful by denying your anger, that anger doesn't disappear. It just goes underground where it controls you in ways you can't see. If you try to be kind by suppressing your selfishness, that selfishness leaks out in passive-aggressive ways or subtle manipulations. The Buddhist path doesn't ask you to become something you're not. It asks you to see clearly what you are. All of it, including the parts you'd rather not acknowledge, and then work skillfully with that reality. The three poisons that the Buddha identified, greed, hatred, and delusion, they exist in every human being, not as flaws to be ashamed of, but as fundamental energies that arise from the conditions of being alive in a body with needs and preferences. Greed arises when you want something and fear not getting it. Hatred arises when you experience something unpleasant and want it gone. Delusion arises when you misunderstand the nature of reality and grasp at fixed identities or permanent conditions. The practice isn't to eliminate these energies. That's impossible and also not the point. The practice is to see them clearly, understand them deeply and gradually transform your relationship to them. When greed arises, you can recognize, this is craving. This is the mind reaching towards something it wants. You don't have to act on it immediately. And you don't have to be ashamed of it. It's just a mind state arising from causes and conditions. When hatred arises, you can notice, this is aversion. This is the mind pushing away from something unpleasant. You can simply be present with it, understanding it as a pattern that arose and will pass. This is what it means to embrace the darkness. Not to become the darkness, but to stop running from it. You face it, you acknowledge it. You understand that light and dark are both aspects of your complete humanity. And trying to have one without the other is like trying to have a coin with only one side. The power itself is neutral. What matters is the heart that wields it. Think about any skill or power you possess. If you're intelligent, that intelligence can be used to manipulate and deceive, or it can be used to understand and help. If you're charismatic, that charisma can be used to exploit people's trust, or it can be used to inspire and uplift. If you're strong, that strength can dominate and control. Or it can serve and protect. The monks who trained Demon Hand weren't trying to become demons. They were developing complete human capacity, the strength to protect, the power to act decisively when needed, the physical capability to meet force with force if absolutely necessary. But all of that training was grounded in the Buddhist precepts. In the understanding that harm should be the last resort, that compassion should guide every action, that power without wisdom is just violence waiting to happen. So when you encounter your own darkness, your anger, your selfishness, your capacity for cruelty or indifference, the practice isn't to deny it or transcend it. The practice is to see it clearly, to understand where it comes from, to recognize it as a pattern of energy that arose from causes and conditions and will pass when those conditions change. And in seeing it clearly without judgment, but also without indulgence, you gradually transform your relationship to it. Anger will still arise when conditions trigger it. Selfishness will still show up when you feel threatened or deprived. But you're no longer identified with these states, they're weather patterns moving through the sky of your awareness, not the totality of who you are. This gives you freedom. Freedom to feel anger without becoming an angry person. Freedom to notice greed without being controlled by it. Freedom to acknowledge your capacity for harm without being defined by it. The demon hand reminds you that you're capable of harm. The Buddha heart ensures that you choose wisely what to do with that capability. Both are necessary. Both are part of the complete path. Both are aspects of being fully, honestly, courageously human. And understanding this prepares you for one of the most essential practices on the path. Because holding on to anything, even darkness, even light, creates suffering. But to understand this darkness we've been exploring, we must first understand the art of letting go. Picture yourself coming home after a long journey. You walk through the door, set your bags down in the hallway, take off your coat, but then you keep standing there, still holding your keys, your phone in one hand, wallet in the other, sunglasses hooked on your shirt, that receipt from 3 hours ago, crumpled in your pocket. You're home, but you're still carrying everything from the journey. Your hands are full of things that served their purpose hours ago. Now imagine never setting any of it down. Tomorrow you add new keys, new receipts, new items, but you're still holding yesterday's keys, last week's receipts, last month's baggage. Your hands get so full you can't open new doors. You can't receive what someone's trying to hand you. You can't reach for what's right in front of you because you're still gripping what you no longer need. This sounds absurd when we're talking about physical objects, but this is exactly what most of us do with experiences, identities, and memories. We arrive in today still carrying everything from yesterday, last year, 10 years ago, and then wonder why we feel so heavy, so exhausted, so unable to move forward. This is the practice of non-attachment, and it's probably the most misunderstood teaching in all of Buddhism. People hear non-attachment and think it means not caring. They think it means being cold, distant, emotionally unavailable, floating through life without forming bonds or commitments, without investing in anything or anyone because that would be attachment. That's not what it means at all. Non-attachment doesn't mean you love less deeply. It means you love more freely. Without trying to control or possess what you love. Without making your peace dependent on things staying exactly as they are. Let's look at how clinging actually works in your life. Think about something that happened recently. Maybe a few days ago, maybe a few weeks ago, something pleasant that you enjoyed or something unpleasant that upset you. It's over now, finished in the past. But is it really over? If you're like most people, you're still carrying it with you. If it was pleasant, you're replaying it, wishing you could go back, comparing your current experience to how good that was. If it was unpleasant, you're ruminating on it, analyzing what went wrong. Imagining what you should have said or done differently. Either way, the experience is finished, but you're still holding on to it. Your hands are full of yesterday, and there's no room for today. Here's a practical example. Let's say you have 24 hours in a day. You sleep for 8 hours, leaving you 16 waking hours to work with. Now, let's say you spent an incredible weekend somewhere, maybe traveling, maybe with someone you love, maybe doing something that brought you genuine joy, beautiful experience, worth treasuring. But now it's Monday and you're back in your regular life. And you spend 6 hours of your waking day thinking about that weekend. Wishing you were still there, feeling sad it's over, scrolling through photos, telling people about it, comparing today to how good that was. 6 hours of your 16 available hours are being consumed by something that's already finished. That's 6 hours you're not present for what's actually happening now. 6 hours you're not available for the new experiences, new insights, new possibilities that today is offering. This is clinging, and it's costing you your actual life in exchange for a memory. The Buddha taught this with radical clarity in the Samyutta Nikaya. All conditioned things are impermanent. When one sees this with wisdom, one turns away from suffering. All conditioned things are impermanent. Not some things, all things. Every experience you've ever had, every relationship you've ever been in, every identity you've ever held, every state of mind you've ever experienced. Impermanent, changing, flowing, unable to be grasped and held in one fixed form. This isn't bad news, even though it might feel like it at first. This is just reality, the nature of existence itself. Everything that arises also passes. Everything that comes together also comes apart. Everything that is born also dies. You can spend your whole life resisting this truth, trying to make things permanent that can't be permanent. Trying to freeze moments that are by their nature temporary. Or you can learn to work with impermanence instead of against it. Working with impermanence means setting things down over and over again as many times as necessary. You have an experience. You receive it fully. You learn from it. And then you let it pass so there's space for what comes next. You don't try to hold on to it or recreate it or live in its memory. You honor it by being completely present with it while it was happening. And then you honor it again by letting it be complete. This applies to everything. That relationship that ended, it taught you something, it gave you something, it was real and meaningful while it existed. And now it's finished. Holding on to who you were in that relationship, replaying what went wrong, fantasizing about reconciliation, none of that brings it back. It just keeps you locked in a past that no longer exists. That job you lost or left. It shaped you. It gave you skills and experience. It was part of your journey. And now it's done. Identifying yourself by it. Introducing yourself by what you used to do. Measuring your current work against it. That's living with hands full of something that's already been set down, whether you acknowledge it or not. That version of yourself you were 5 years ago, younger, maybe healthier, maybe more hopeful. Or more naive or more certain about life. That person existed and you can respect what that person went through. But trying to be that person now, mourning the loss of who you were, refusing to accept who you're becoming, that's suffering you're creating yourself. Here's what's tricky about this. Clinging doesn't only happen with the past, it also happens with the future. You have an idea of how things should unfold, how your life should look, how people should behave, how your practice should progress. And when reality doesn't match that idea, you suffer. Not because reality is wrong, but because you're holding so tightly to your expectation that you can't receive what's actually being offered. Your hands are full of should be and there's no room for what is. So what does letting go actually look like in practice? It starts with awareness, recognizing when you're clinging. Notice when your mind keeps returning to the same story, the same memory, the same worry about the future. Notice when you're comparing your present experience to some other time. Notice when you're trying to recreate something that can't be recreated. That noticing is already the beginning of release. Then comes the conscious choice. I'm going to set this down now. Not because it wasn't important, not because it didn't matter, but because holding on to it is preventing me from being present with what's here now. Sometimes this happens once and you're done. More often you have to set it down repeatedly, 100 times, 1,000 times. The mind picks it back up and you set it down again. This is the practice. There's a beautiful metaphor in this. Think about reading a book. You read chapter 1. Maybe it's fascinating. Maybe it's difficult. Maybe it's confusing. Whatever it is, you read it fully. You take in what it's offering and then you turn the page. You don't keep reading chapter 1 over and over, trying to extract something more from it, trying to make it be what it isn't. You don't refuse to read chapter 2 because chapter 1 was so good and you want to stay there forever. You read it, you receive it, and you move on. That's non-attachment in action. The content of chapter 1 doesn't disappear when you turn the page. It becomes part of your understanding. It informs how you read what comes next. But you're not still in chapter 1 trying to live there permanently. Your life is the same way. Every experience, every relationship, every phase, they're all chapters in a book that's still being written. Honor each chapter by being fully present while you're in it. Then honor it again by knowing when it's time to turn the page. This doesn't mean you become passive or stop caring about outcomes. You can work hard, love deeply, invest fully in what you're doing, and still hold it all lightly enough that you're not destroyed when things change, because things always change. Non-attachment isn't the opposite of love. It's love without possession, commitment without control, passion without grasping. You care deeply about this person. And you also recognize they're a free being on their own path, not an object you can own or a role you can lock them into forever. You work diligently toward your goals, and you also understand that outcomes depend on causes and conditions beyond your control. So you do your best and release your grip on how it has to turn out. You form connections and build things and create meaning in your life. And you also hold the understanding that everything you build will eventually change form. So you participate fully without making your peace dependent on everything staying exactly as it is right now. This is what it means to set things down repeatedly throughout your life. You pick up experience. You live fully. You engage completely. You don't hold back from life out of fear of loss. And then you set it down. You let experiences complete. You allow phases to end. You release your grip on the forms that things took. So you're available for the forms they're taking now. Pick up and set down. Pick up and set down. Over and over. This is the rhythm of a life lived in harmony with impermanence rather than in resistance to it. And here's what's remarkable. The lighter your hands become, the more you can actually hold. When you're not clutching yesterday's keys, you can receive today's gifts. When you're not gripping last year's identity, you can step into who you're becoming. When you're not clinging to how things should be, you can meet reality as it actually is with all its possibility and richness. This is why letting go isn't giving up. Giving up is turning away from life, refusing to engage, protecting yourself from possibility by shutting down. Letting go is the opposite. It's opening your hands so you can engage more fully, love more freely, live more completely. It's walking through your front door and actually coming home instead of standing in the hallway forever, weighed down by baggage from journeys that have already ended. Set it down. Honor what was. Turn toward what is. And this brings us to one of the most misunderstood teachings in all of Zen Buddhism. In 1971, Bruce Lee sat down for an interview that would become one of the most shared pieces of wisdom in modern times. The interviewer asked him about his fighting philosophy, and Bruce Lee leaned forward with that characteristic intensity and said, "Empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend." Millions of people have heard this quote. It shows up on posters, in motivational videos, across social media. But most people don't realize Bruce Lee wasn't creating something new. He was expressing a core teaching of Zen Buddhism that goes back over 1,000 years. The teaching of Mushin, no mind. Not no mind in the sense of being mindless or unconscious, but mind that's empty of fixed ideas, rigid patterns, preconceived notions about how things should be. Mind that's formless like water. To understand what this means, let's look at two different ways of being in the world. Watch a young child, maybe 3 or 4 years old, playing in a park. They see a puddle and they jump in it, just because. No calculation about whether it's appropriate. No worry about getting their shoes wet. No concern about what other people might think. The puddle is there. Jumping looks fun, so they jump. Something makes them laugh. Really laugh. That full-body delight where they can barely catch their breath and they're completely absorbed in that laughter. Not performing it, not trying to be charming, just utterly present with the pure joy of whatever struck them as funny. They get frustrated about something and they cry fully and without shame. 30 seconds later, they've forgotten what upset them and they're fascinated by a butterfly. This is formlessness. They're not carrying around a fixed idea of who they are or how they should behave. They're responding freshly to each moment. Adapting naturally to whatever's in front of them, flowing like water into whatever container the present moment provides. Now watch an adult in that same park. They see the puddle and immediately calculate. I shouldn't jump in that. My shoes will get wet. People will think I'm childish. I'm too old for that sort of thing. What if I slip? What if someone I know sees me? Something strikes them as funny, but they hold back the full laugh. Just a polite chuckle. Nothing too loud. Nothing that draws too much attention. They're upset about something, but they can't show it. Not here, not now. So they push it down and paste on a neutral expression and carry that tension in their shoulders for the rest of the day. This is form becoming fixed. Somewhere along the way from childhood to adulthood, we trade spontaneity for appropriateness. Presence for planning, natural response for calculated behavior. We develop a very solid sense of who we are and how we should be. And we carry that identity around like armor protecting us, yes, but also weighing us down, limiting what's possible. There's a famous Zen saying, in the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities. But in the expert's mind, there are few. The beginner doesn't know what's supposed to happen, so everything is still possible. The expert knows exactly what should happen. So, they've already closed off most of reality in favor of their fixed expectations. This is what happens as we age, not just physically, but mentally and spiritually. We become experts in our own lives. We know who we are. We know what we like. We know how things work. We know what's possible and what isn't. And all that knowing, all that expertise, all that accumulated experience, it calcifies us. We lose the beginner's mind, the formless mind. The water-like adaptability that could meet each moment fresh. Here's a universal moment you've probably experienced. You're learning something new, maybe a language, maybe an instrument, maybe a physical skill. At the very beginning, there's a kind of openness. You don't know anything yet. So, you're curious about everything. Every small insight feels like a discovery. You ask questions without embarrassment because, of course, you don't know. You're a beginner. But then you develop some competence. You know enough to have opinions. Now to think you understand how things work, and suddenly that openness closes. You stop asking basic questions. Because you should already know this. You stop being curious about the fundamentals because you're past that stage. You develop a fixed way of doing things and you resist suggestions that contradict what you already know. You've stopped being water and become ice, solid, rigid, fixed in one shape. The Zen practice of Shoshin, beginner's mind, is about maintaining that water-like quality even as you gain experience and knowledge. It's not about pretending you don't know things you know. It's about holding your knowledge lightly enough that you can still be surprised, still learn, still adapt when reality shows you something that contradicts your understanding. Think about how water behaves. Pour it into a square container and it becomes square, perfectly conforming to every edge and corner. Pour that same water into a round container and it becomes round. No resistance. No complaint about having to change shape. Water doesn't have an agenda about what shape it should be. It doesn't cling to the form it had in the previous container. It simply is what it is, adapting naturally to whatever conditions it meets. This is Mushin, no mind. Not mindless, but free from the tyranny of fixed ideas about how you should be or how situations should unfold. When Bruce Lee fought, he wasn't following a predetermined sequence of moves. He was responding in real time to what his opponent did. Adapting instantly, flowing like water around obstacles, finding openings without having to think about finding them. His body had trained so thoroughly that thinking stopped being necessary. The techniques had entered his muscle memory so completely that his conscious mind was free to simply be present and respond naturally to whatever arose. This is the progression we talked about earlier in a different context. First you learn the form, then the form becomes natural, then the mind becomes free. And when the mind is free, not cluttered with should and shouldn't, not cluttered with past and future, not cluttered with self-consciousness, that's when real spontaneity becomes possible again. You laugh when something's funny, not when it's socially appropriate to laugh. You speak honestly instead of calculating what response will create the best impression. You move naturally instead of constantly monitoring how you look to others. You stop performing your life and start living it. But here's what makes this challenging. We live in a world that demands fixed forms. Society needs you to be predictable, consistent, reliably, the same person across different contexts. Your job needs you to behave a certain way. Your relationships have expectations built into them. Even your own self-image requires a certain consistency. I'm the kind of person who does this, who doesn't do that. So, you can't just abandon all form and become completely fluid. That would be chaos and probably dysfunction. The practice is subtler than that. It's learning to wear your forms lightly. To play the roles life requires of you without becoming rigidly identified with those roles. To have structure and consistency without losing the capacity for spontaneity and natural response. Water has form when it needs to. In a cup. It holds the cup's shape perfectly, but it's not clinging to that shape. Pour it out and it flows freely again, ready to take whatever shape comes next. This is the balance. Form and formlessness, structure and spontaneity, knowing and not knowing, all held together in natural harmony. You know who you are, but you're not so fixed in that identity that you can't grow and change. You have values and principles, but you're not so rigid about them, that you can't adapt to new understanding. You have plans and goals, but you're not so attached to them that you can't respond skillfully when circumstances shift. Be water. Soft enough to yield. Strong enough to persist. Gentle enough to nourish. Powerful enough to carve through stone over time. Humble enough to always flow downward. Yet essential enough that nothing can live without it. This is what the formless mind looks like in practice. Not absence of mind, but mind that's free from the prison of fixed ideas. Open to each moment as it actually is rather than as you think it should be. The child still lives inside you. That capacity for spontaneous joy, for complete presence, for adaptation without self-consciousness, it didn't disappear. It just got buried under layers of conditioning and expectation and fixed ideas about who you're supposed to be. The practice is excavation, removing layers, not adding them. Becoming simpler, not more complex. returning to that natural responsiveness that you had before you learned to constantly monitor and control and perform yourself. Empty your mind. Be formless. Be water. Not as a technique you add to your collection, but as a natural state you return to by removing everything that's in the way. This formless quality requires understanding natural rhythms, the cycles that govern how energy moves through you and through all living things. Because water doesn't just flow randomly. It follows patterns, rhythms, natural cycles that have existed long before we ever tried to understand them. And these same rhythms are moving through you right now. After 6 years of extreme asceticism, the Buddha's body had become so weak he could barely sit upright. He'd pushed himself to the edge of death, believing that suffering would lead to awakening. He ate almost nothing. Some accounts say a single grain of rice per day. Others say he went weeks without food. He practiced breath retention until he passed out. He slept on beds of thorns. He did everything possible to transcend the body through sheer force of will. His 5 fellow ascetics admired his dedication. They watched him push harder than anyone, certain he would be the first among them to reach enlightenment through this severe path. But one day, as the Buddha sat by the river too weak to continue, he heard something. A music teacher was in a boat passing by instructing his student about tuning a stringed instrument. The teacher said, "If you tune the string too tight, it will break. If you tune it too loose, it will not play. The right sound comes from the middle way." In that moment, the Buddha understood something profound. He'd spent his youth in a palace surrounded by luxury, never wanting for anything, never facing difficulty or discomfort. That extreme hadn't led to awakening. It had left him restless and unsatisfied. So, he'd swung to the opposite extreme. Rejecting all comfort. Denying all physical needs, trying to transcend the body through punishment and deprivation. And this hadn't led to awakening either. It had only left him too weak to practice effectively. Neither extreme was the path. The path was between them, maintaining the body well enough to support the practice. But not indulging in luxury that dulls awareness. Effort without forcing, discipline without rigidity, the middle way. Shortly after this realization, a village girl named Sujata approached with a bowl of rice milk, believing he was a tree spirit who had answered her prayers. The Buddha accepted it and drank. His 5 companions were horrified. They thought he'd given up, abandoned the path, proven himself weak. They left him in disgust. But the Buddha had finally found the sustainable approach that would carry him to awakening. Weeks later, nourished and with his strength returned, he sat beneath the Bodhi tree and didn't rise until he understood the nature of suffering completely. This teaching of the middle way isn't just about meditation or spiritual practice. It's about how you work with your energy in every aspect of daily life. Your energy isn't constant. It fluctuates based on countless conditions. How much you slept, what you ate, what season it is, what time of day. What emotional states you've been moving through, what demands life has placed on you recently. And yet, most of us try to maintain the same pace regardless of these conditions. We expect ourselves to be equally productive every day. Equally present in every interaction, equally capable at all times. When our energy is naturally low, we judge ourselves for it. When our energy is naturally high, we squander it on things that don't matter. This is like tuning a string to the same tension. Whether you're playing gentle music or vigorous music, it doesn't work. The right tension depends on what's needed in this moment. Here's a universal moment most people have experienced. It's late afternoon and you can feel your energy declining. Your body is sending clear signals. You're tired. Your focus is wandering. Your thinking has become slower and less clear. Everything in you is saying time to rest, time to slow down, time to restore. But you push through anyway. You have deadlines, responsibilities, expectations to meet. You pour another coffee. You force yourself to concentrate. You keep working even though it takes twice as long to accomplish half as much. In that moment, you're tuning the string too tight. You're demanding that your energy be something it's not. Forcing productivity when your system needs recovery. And like a string tuned too tight, something will eventually break. Maybe your health, maybe your peace of mind, maybe your capacity to feel genuine enthusiasm for anything. Or here's the opposite extreme. It's morning and you naturally have energy available. Your mind is clear. Your body is rested. Conditions are optimal for focused work or meaningful practice. But you squander it, scrolling through feeds, watching videos, having scattered conversations about nothing important, basically numbing yourself until the peak energy passes, and you're left wondering where the day went. This is tuning the string too loose. You're not bringing skillful effort when effort is possible. You're letting your energy dissipate into distraction instead of channeling it toward what actually matters to you. The middle way asks something different. Work with the energy you actually have, not the energy you wish you had or think you should have. The Buddha taught 4 types of right effort, and they're remarkably practical once you understand them. The first effort: prevent unwholesome states from arising. This means noticing the conditions that lead to states you don't want. Anxiety, anger, craving, restlessness, and avoiding those conditions when possible. If you know that checking the news first thing in the morning leaves you agitated, don't check the news first thing in the morning. If you know that certain people or situations trigger your worst patterns, minimize exposure when you can. Don't make things harder than they need to be. The second effort: abandon unwholesome states that have already arisen. When you notice you're caught in a pattern that's causing suffering, rumination, resentment, compulsive distraction, you make the effort to let it go, not through suppression, but through recognition and redirection of attention. The third effort: cultivate wholesome states that haven't yet arisen. This means intentionally creating conditions for the mental states you want to develop. Calm, clarity, compassion, concentration. You sit for meditation even when you don't feel like it because you're cultivating the capacity for presence. You practice kindness even when it's not your immediate impulse because you're developing that quality in yourself. The fourth effort: maintain wholesome states that have already arisen. When you're in a good state, calm, focused, open-hearted, you protect it. You don't immediately jump on your phone or rush into the next thing. You stay with it. You let it deepen. You allow it to stabilize. These 4 efforts sound like a lot. But they're really just one practice. Paying attention to the quality of your mind and making skillful choices about where to direct your energy. And here's what's crucial. The amount of effort that's skillful changes based on your current state. When your energy is high, more effort is appropriate. You can take on challenging tasks. You can push into difficult territory. You can work intensively because you have the resources to support that level of engagement. When your energy is low, less effort is skillful. You need gentler practices, simpler tasks, time to restore. Forcing the same intensity as when you're at full capacity isn't discipline. It's just creating conditions for depletion and burnout. The middle way means recognizing where you actually are and responding appropriately. Think about the natural world for a moment. Trees don't produce fruit year-round at the same intensity. They have seasons of vigorous growth and seasons of dormancy. Animals don't hunt or forage with the same intensity every day. They adapt their activity levels to conditions and their current state. Only humans expect themselves to maintain constant productivity regardless of natural cycles. And we wonder why we're exhausted. So here's the practical application. Start observing your natural energy rhythms. When during the day do you feel most alert and capable? That's when you schedule your most demanding work, your deepest practice, the tasks that require your best thinking. When do you naturally have less energy? That's when you do the simpler tasks, the maintenance work. The things that don't require peak performance. Or better yet, that's when you rest. This isn't lazy. It's strategic. You're working with your nature instead of against it. You can also observe your energy across larger cycles. Some days you wake up with abundant energy for no clear reason. Use those days fully. Accomplish what matters. Engage deeply. Other days you wake up already depleted. Honor that. Scale back when possible. Focus on restoration. Women know this especially well with their monthly cycles. Energy and capacity fluctuate significantly across the month, and trying to maintain the same pace through all phases is exhausting. But this principle applies to everyone regardless of gender. Energy moves in cycles, not straight lines. The middle way isn't a fixed point between extremes. It's a dynamic balance that shifts based on conditions. Sometimes the middle is closer to vigorous effort. Sometimes it's closer to deep rest. The wisdom is knowing which is needed now. In this moment, given these specific conditions. And developing that wisdom requires paying attention not to what you think you should be able to do, not to what other people are doing, but to the direct experience of your own energy in this body right now. When you're forcing yourself through exhaustion day after day, you're not being disciplined. You're tuning the string so tight it's about to break. When you're constantly avoiding any real effort, always taking the path of least resistance, you're not being kind to yourself. You're tuning the string so loose it produces no music at all. Find the middle. Feel for the right tension. Adjust as conditions change. This is the practice the Buddha discovered after nearly dying from extremes in both directions. Sustainable effort appropriate to conditions. Neither indulgent nor punishing. walking the narrow path between too much and too little. Your body already knows this wisdom. When you're truly listening not to your anxious thoughts about what you should be doing, but to the direct physical experience of your energy, you know when to push and when to rest, when to engage, and when to withdraw. The practice is trusting that knowing instead of overriding it with ideas about how you're supposed to be. Work when you have energy to work. Rest when you need rest. Don't make productivity into a religion or rest into an escape. Simply meet each moment with appropriate effort, neither forced nor lazy, tuned to exactly what's needed. Now, this is the middle way in daily life. And it's not something you figure out once and then you're done. It's something you practice moment by moment, day by day, constantly adjusting, constantly finding your balance again as conditions shift. The string needs retuning throughout the day, throughout the seasons, throughout your life. The practice is developing sensitivity to what's needed and the flexibility to respond skillfully. And this balance, this constant adjustment between effort and ease, between engagement and release, this reveals the true power of the heart. There's a practice in Buddhism that sounds almost too simple to be powerful. It's called metta bhavana, the cultivation of loving kindness. And before you dismiss this as something soft or sentimental, understand the Buddha taught this practice to monks who were living alone in a forest and being terrorized by fear. He taught it as medicine for the most difficult states of mind. He taught it as a practice that could fundamentally transform not just how you feel, but how you move through the world and what you're capable of creating. Let's start with what loving kindness actually means in Buddhist context. It's not warm fuzzy feelings, though those might arise. It's not pretending to like everyone. It's the intentional cultivation of goodwill. The genuine wish for beings to be well, to be at peace, to be free from suffering, including yourself. Especially yourself, because you can't offer to others what you don't have inside you. Here's how the practice works, and you can begin this right now even as you're listening. Start with yourself. Bring yourself to mind. Not the version of yourself you wish you were, but the actual human being you are right now. Complete with all your struggles and limitations. And then offer these phrases silently, directing them toward yourself. May I be safe. May I be peaceful. May I be healthy. May I live with ease. Simple words, but don't rush through them. Let each phrase land. Feel what it would be like if these wishes were fulfilled. Not as fantasy but as genuine intention. You truly wish for your own safety, your own peace, your own well-being. This might feel awkward at first, even selfish. Many of us have been trained that caring about our own well-being is somehow wrong. But the Buddha taught differently in the Metta Sutta. He said that just as a mother protects her only child with her life, so should we cultivate boundless love toward all beings. And this begins with ourselves. You cannot give water from an empty well. Once you've established this feeling of goodwill toward yourself, you expand it outward. Think of someone you care about. Someone whose happiness naturally brings you joy. Hold them in your awareness and offer the same phrases. May you be safe. May you be peaceful. May you be healthy. May you live with ease. Then expand to someone neutral, someone you encountered recently but don't have strong feelings about. The person at the checkout counter. Someone you passed on the street. May you be safe. May you be peaceful. May you be healthy. May you live with ease. And then this is where the practice becomes truly transformative. You include someone difficult, someone who's harmed you, annoyed you, someone you're in conflict with. Not because they deserve it, or because what they did was okay, but because hatred doesn't actually hurt them. It only poisons your own heart. May you be safe. May you be peaceful. May you be healthy. May you live with ease. Finally, you expand to include all beings everywhere, known and unknown, near and far. May all beings be safe. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings be healthy. May all beings live with ease. This is the practice. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, however long feels right. And you can return to it throughout your day whenever you notice your heart closing, your mind turning bitter, your energy contracting into resentment or fear. But here's what makes this practice profound. It's based on one of the deepest teachings in Buddhism, the understanding that your mind creates your experience of reality. In the Dhammapada, the very first verses teach we are what we think. All that we are arises with our thoughts. With our thoughts, we make the world. This is not New Age thinking where you just visualize what you want and it magically appears. That's a misunderstanding of how reality works. This is the Buddhist teaching of dependent origination. The understanding that everything arises from causes and conditions and your mental states are some of those causes. Think about how this actually works in your life. You wake up in gratitude. That mental state influences how you interact with your family at breakfast. More patience, more warmth, more presence. Those interactions create a certain quality of connection. You carry that feeling into your day, which influences how you treat everyone you encounter. Those interactions create responses in others, opening possibilities that wouldn't have existed if you'd been closed off. Or the opposite, you wake up in resentment that colors everything you perceive throughout the day. You interpret neutral actions as slights. You respond defensively when no attack was intended. You close off when connection is offered and you create the very isolation you were afraid of. This isn't magic. It's cause and effect. Your mental states are causes that create conditions which produce results. Not with perfect control, not with guaranteed outcomes, but as one powerful factor among many that shape what unfolds in your life. Metta practice works with this principle directly. When you cultivate loving kindness consistently, you're reconditioning your mind away from its default patterns of fear and judgment toward patterns of openness and goodwill. And as your inner state shifts, your outer experience shifts, too. Not because you're manifesting reality with your thoughts, but because you're showing up differently, perceiving differently, responding differently, and therefore calling forth different responses from the world. The Buddha taught this with stark clarity in Dhammapada verse 5. Hatred is never appeased by hatred in this world. By non-hatred alone is hatred appeased. This is an eternal law. An eternal law. Not a suggestion, not an ideal, but the way reality actually works. When you meet hatred with hatred, you simply create more hatred. The cycle continues, escalates, perpetuates itself. When you meet hatred with loving kindness, not weakness, not surrender, but genuine goodwill combined with clear boundaries, you create the possibility for the cycle to stop. Here's a universal moment. Someone treats you badly. Maybe they snap at you. Maybe they're dismissive. Maybe they actively try to undermine you. Your immediate impulse is to defend yourself, to strike back, to make them feel what they made you feel. But watch what happens when you follow that impulse. You respond with coldness or cutting words or subtle retaliation. They feel attacked and respond in kind. The situation escalates. Both of you end up more hurt, more defended, more convinced that the other person is the problem. Now imagine responding differently. You notice the impulse to strike back, but you don't immediately act on it. You take a breath. You recognize that their behavior is coming from their own suffering, their fear, their pain, their unmet needs. This doesn't make their behavior okay, but you respond from a different place. Not from reactivity, but from groundedness. Not from hurt, but from clarity. Maybe you set a firm boundary. Maybe you walk away. Maybe you address it directly but without cruelty. Whatever you do it without adding more poison to an already toxic situation. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes that changes everything. The other person feels the difference. They're not being met with the fight they expected. So, the defensive wall starts to crack. Space opens for actual communication, for repair, for something new to happen. Even when it doesn't change them, it changes you. You don't carry their poison into the rest of your day, into your other relationships, into your own heart where it would fester and grow. This is how metta practice becomes not just a meditation cushion exercise, but a way of moving through the world that fundamentally alters what's possible in your life. And here's what's remarkable. The more you practice this, the more natural it becomes. At first, offering loving kindness to difficult people feels forced, maybe even impossible. But like any practice, it strengthens with repetition. The neural pathways associated with goodwill get reinforced. The habit of meeting life with openness rather than defensiveness becomes more established. What started as deliberate practice becomes your default way of being. This doesn't make you naive or weak. If anything, it makes you stronger because you're no longer being tossed around by every slight, every conflict, every moment of disharmony. You're grounded in something deeper than immediate reactivity. Grounded in the understanding that all beings struggle. All beings suffer. All beings are just trying to find peace in the only ways they know how. And from that ground you can respond with both compassion and clarity, both kindness and strength, both an open heart and clear boundaries. This is what the Buddha meant when he taught that loving kindness is a protection. Not protection in the sense that nothing bad will ever happen to you, but protection in the sense that whatever happens, you're not adding unnecessary suffering on top of it. You're not carrying resentment that poisons your own system. You're not perpetuating cycles of harm. You're not closing your heart so tightly that you cut yourself off from the very connections that make life meaningful. You remain open, remain warm, remain engaged with life. Even when life is difficult, even when people disappoint you, even when things don't go the way you hoped. So the practice invitation is simple. Cultivate loving kindness systematically starting right now. Practice it daily for even 5 minutes. Watch what shifts in your inner experience, in your relationships, in the quality of your days. Notice when your heart is closed and consciously soften it with these phrases. Notice when you're about to respond reactively and pause long enough to find a response that comes from goodwill instead of defensiveness. This is practical work, not abstract philosophy. It's training your heart the same way you train your body through consistent patient practice that gradually builds capacity. And as your capacity for loving kindness grows, something else grows too. The understanding that you're not actually separate from all the beings you're wishing well. The same struggles you face, they face. The same longing for peace. They have the same confusion about how to live well. They carry. You're all in this together. Each walking your own path, but all walking toward the same basic human wish to be free from suffering and find genuine peace. But here's what's paradoxical about this realization. Even as you understand your deep connection to all beings, the path itself often feels profoundly solitary. Why does this path toward connection require so much time walking alone? Why does deepening compassion for all beings seem to increase your distance from most people? But why does this path feel so lonely? You've been walking with these teachings for hours now. You've learned practices, explored paradoxes, sat with difficult truths. And by now you might be starting to feel something that every serious practitioner eventually encounters. A growing sense of separation between the path you're walking and the world most people inhabit. Not because you're better than anyone else. Not because you've transcended ordinary life, but because genuine practice changes you in ways that are difficult to explain to people who aren't also doing the work. This is why the path to mastery is walked alone. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha teaches this directly. By oneself is evil done. By oneself is one defiled. By oneself is evil left undone. By oneself is one purified. Purity and impurity depend on oneself. No one can purify another. Read that last line again. No one can purify another. This isn't about religious purity or moral superiority. It's about the fundamental nature of inner transformation. It can only happen from the inside by the person who's doing the transforming. A teacher can show you the path. A community can support and encourage you. Books and teachings can illuminate the way. But the actual work of seeing clearly, of releasing old patterns, of cultivating new capacities, that work can only be done by you. In the privacy of your own experience in moments when no one else is watching. Let's look at what this actually means in practice. The Buddha taught 3 trainings that form the foundation of the path. Ethics, concentration, and wisdom. Ethics or sila in Pali is how you conduct yourself in the world. How you speak, how you act, how you treat other beings, how you handle your responsibilities. People can observe your ethical behavior from the outside. They can see if you're honest, if you're kind, if you keep your word. But the inner work of developing ethical sensitivity, the capacity to feel when you're about to cause harm, the wisdom to know what's truly beneficial, that develops in the solitary space of your own conscience. No one else can do that work for you. Concentration samadhi is the ability to focus your attention steadily on a chosen object without getting lost in distraction. A teacher can give you instructions for meditation. They can describe what concentration feels like, offer techniques for working with a wandering mind. But the actual practice of sitting down day after day, returning your attention to the breath over and over, building that capacity gradually through repetition, that's solitary work. Even if you're in a meditation hall with 100 other people, when you're on that cushion, you're alone with your mind. No one can concentrate for you. No one can steady your attention when it wanders. That's your work and only yours. Wisdom panna is direct insight into the nature of reality. Understanding impermanence not as an idea but as a felt truth. Seeing how suffering arises from clinging, recognizing the absence of a fixed permanent self. Teachers can point you toward these insights. Texts can describe them beautifully. But genuine wisdom only arises through your own direct seeing, your own intimate encounter with how things actually are. No one can be wise for you. This is why the Buddha taught the Eightfold Path as a personal practice, not a group activity. Right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. Each of these is something you develop in your own experience, through your own choices, in your own life. A community can remind you of these practices. A teacher can help you understand them more deeply. But the Sangha, the community of practitioners, they're walking alongside you, not walking for you. This is the critical distinction that many people misunderstand. Community matters immensely. The Buddha established the Sangha as one of the three jewels. Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha because he understood that human beings need support, encouragement, and the example of others who are also committed to the path. Being part of a community gives you people who understand what you're going through. People who won't think you're strange for meditating every morning or questioning assumptions most people never examine. People who can offer guidance when you're stuck, encouragement when you're discouraged, perspective when you're lost. But here's what community cannot do. They cannot do your practice for you. They can't sit meditation on your behalf. They can't release your clinging for you. They can't see through your delusions while you remain convinced by them. The Sangha is like a group of climbers on the mountain. You're all heading toward the summit. You can see each other on the path. You can call out warnings about loose rocks or difficult passages ahead. But each person is taking their own steps. Each person is managing their own energy, finding their own pace. Dealing with their own fear and doubt and exhaustion. You're together, but you're also profoundly alone in the actual work of climbing. Here's a universal moment that every practitioner knows. It's early morning, still dark outside, and your alarm goes off for meditation. You're tired. Your bed is warm. No one would know if you skipped today. No one is checking on you, grading your practice, keeping score. In that moment, the choice is entirely yours. You can roll over and go back to sleep, or you can get up and practice. No one else can make that choice for you. No one else even knows the choice is being made. This is the solitary nature of the path. Not the dramatic moments, not the big decisions that everyone sees, but the small, quiet choices made in moments when you're alone with yourself and no one else is watching. Or this moment you're in conversation with someone and they say something that triggers anger in you. You feel that familiar heat rising, the urge to say something cutting in response. In that split second between stimulus and response, you're alone. The mindfulness you've been cultivating is either present or it isn't. The capacity for restraint you've been developing is either accessible or it isn't. The wisdom to recognize a destructive pattern before you follow it. Either you've built that capacity or you haven't. No one can jump in and be mindful for you in that moment. No one can access your restraint or apply your wisdom. This is your moment, your choice, your path unfolding in real time. Or this. You're facing a difficult decision, maybe about work, maybe about a relationship, maybe about how to respond to a challenging situation. You can ask for advice, and that's valuable. You can consult with wise friends, read relevant teachings, consider different perspectives, but ultimately you're the one who has to sit with the uncertainty. You're the one who has to feel into what's right for you in this situation with these specific conditions given who you are and what you know about yourself. No one else has your exact circumstances, your exact history, your exact capacity in this moment. The decision is yours alone. This is what it means to walk the path alone. Not that you're isolated or unsupported, but that the actual work of transformation happens in the intimate private space of your own experience. The choices you make when no one's watching, the practice you do in the early morning or late evening when no one knows whether you showed up or not. The internal shifts that happen so gradually. You barely notice them yourself, let alone anyone else. This is where the real work happens. And this is why as you go deeper into practice, you might feel increasingly separate from people who aren't also walking this path. They can't see what you're working with internally. They don't understand why you get up early to sit still and watch your breath. They think you're being difficult when you're actually being discerning. They wonder why you've changed when you're finally becoming more yourself. It's not that you're better than them. It's that your reference points have shifted. Things that used to seem important now seem trivial. Conversations that used to engage you now feel superficial. The way you used to spend your time now feels like a waste of the precious hours you have left in this life. This creates a kind of loneliness that's hard to explain to someone who hasn't experienced it. You're not unhappy, but you're also not fitting in the way you used to. You're not isolated, but you're spending more time alone. Because that's where your practice deepens. You're not superior, but you're also not willing to pretend you don't see what you now see clearly. The Buddha himself experienced this after his awakening. He initially hesitated to teach because he thought the truth he discovered was too subtle, too profound for most people to understand. He knew the loneliness of having seen something that others haven't yet seen. But he chose to teach anyway out of compassion for the few who would understand, who were ready for the path. And this is the paradox. The more you walk this path alone, the more capable you become of genuinely connecting with others. Because you're no longer seeking connection to fill a void or escape yourself. You're no longer performing or pretending. You're just present, available, meeting people exactly as they are without needing them to be anything other than what they are. The solitude makes you more human, not less. The aloneness doesn't close your heart. It opens it because you're no longer protecting yourself so desperately from your own inner experience. You've learned to be with yourself, with your fear, your anger, your sadness, your joy, all of it. And that capacity to be with yourself translates into capacity to be with others in their full humanity. So yes, the path is walked alone, but it's walked alone in order to develop something that serves everyone you encounter. Presence, clarity, compassion, wisdom, the ability to meet life as it actually is rather than as you wish it were. Every hour of solitary practice, every moment of working with your own mind when no one's watching. Every choice to show up for yourself when it would be easier not to. All of this builds capacity that extends far beyond you. You become a different kind of presence in the world. Not perfect, not enlightened in some ultimate sense, but more awake, more available, more capable of responding skillfully to whatever arises. And that's what the world needs. Not more people with the right opinions or the right beliefs, but people who've done the hard work of actually transforming their relationship to their own minds. People who can stay present in difficulty. People who can meet aggression without becoming aggressive. People who can hold space for others' struggles because they've learned to hold space for their own. This is why the path is worth walking even though it's walked alone. So, how do we bring all of this into daily life? We've come full circle now. We began at the base of the mountain, looking up at a solitary path winding into mist. We've climbed together through teachings and practices, through darkness and light, through understanding why solitude is necessary and what it cultivates within you. Now, it's time to talk about what this actually looks like in daily life. Not in a monastery, not in ideal conditions, but right where you are. With all your responsibilities and relationships and ordinary human complications. Remember the monk we talked about at the beginning? He wakes alone, eats alone, practices alone. Not because he hates people or has given up on connection, but because he's discovered something essential. The foundation of everything worthwhile is built in solitude. But here's what we didn't say earlier. That monk also serves the community. He teaches when teaching is needed. He offers support when support is requested. He participates in ceremonies, maintains the temple grounds, engages with the world around him. His solitude isn't escape, it's preparation. The hours spent alone in practice create the capacity to be genuinely present when he's with others. The discipline of working with his own mind makes him useful to people struggling with theirs. The peace he cultivates in meditation becomes the peace he brings into every interaction. This is the model for your life. Even if you'll never be a monk. You don't need to live in a temple or meditate for hours every day. You need to find the pockets of solitude within your regular life and use them intentionally for practice rather than distraction. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha teaches through effort, vigilance, restraint, and self-control, the wise make islands of themselves. that no flood can overwhelm. Make islands of themselves. Not isolated fortresses cut off from life, but stable ground that remains steady even when everything around you is changing, challenging, threatening to pull you off center. This is what your practice creates. An inner stability that doesn't depend on external conditions being just right. So what does this look like practically? It looks like the morning practice we talked about hours ago. Those moments when you choose presence over distraction, breath over scrolling, awareness over autopilot. But it's also the small moments throughout your day when you return to yourself. You're in a difficult meeting. And instead of getting swept up in reactivity, you take one conscious breath. That's the practice. You're washing dishes and instead of mentally being anywhere else, you feel the warm water, smell the soap. Notice the simple act of cleaning. That's the practice. You're walking to your car or standing in line. And instead of immediately reaching for your phone, you just stand there. Present with yourself for 30 seconds. That's the practice. These aren't dramatic moments. No one notices when you make these choices. There's no external reward, no recognition, no proof that it matters. But this is where transformation actually happens. In the accumulated weight of small choices made consistently over time. The Buddhist path talks about two essential practices that work together. Samatha and Vipassana. Samatha is calm, tranquility, the ability to steady your mind and rest in peace. Vipassana is insight, clear seeing, the capacity to understand reality directly. Rather than through the filter of your concepts and stories. Together they create what you might call the peaceful warrior. Someone who's both grounded in peace and clear in understanding. You need both. Peace without insight becomes complacency. You're calm, but you're not seeing clearly. So you keep making the same mistakes following the same patterns. Insight without peace becomes agitation. You see everything clearly but you don't have the steadiness to respond skillfully. So your understanding doesn't translate into wise action. But when you cultivate both, when you're both peaceful and perceptive, you become someone who can navigate life's difficulties without losing your center. Someone who sees clearly what needs to be done and has the inner stability to do it. Someone who can meet chaos without becoming chaotic. Meet fear without becoming fearful. Meet aggression without becoming aggressive. This is what your solitary practice is building. Every time you sit in meditation, you're training samatha, the ability to return your attention, to steady your mind, to find calm even when conditions are turbulent. Every time you observe your experience clearly, noticing how craving arises, how aversion manifests, how everything is constantly changing, you're developing vipassana. And this training doesn't stay on the meditation cushion. It ripples out into everything. Think about how you've invested your life energy up until now. Not your time. Time passes whether you use it well or not, but your actual life energy, your attention, your care, your focus. Most people invest the majority of their energy into things that don't actually matter much in the long term. Maintaining appearances, following scripts about who they should be, avoiding discomfort at all costs, accumulating experiences and possessions they hope will finally make them feel complete. Not because they're foolish, but because no one ever showed them there's another way to invest that energy. The path we've been exploring offers a different investment strategy. Put your energy into understanding yourself, transforming your mind, developing the capacities that create genuine peace rather than temporary comfort. This investment pays different dividends than worldly success. You might not become rich or famous or impressive to others, but you become free in a way most people never experience. Free from being jerked around by every craving and aversion. Free from needing external conditions to be just right before you can be at peace. Free from the endless cycle of seeking something outside yourself to complete you. And here's what's remarkable. This freedom you develop through solitary practice doesn't stay private. You might think no one notices the work you're doing alone, but they do. Not because you tell them about it, but because you become different. You become someone who doesn't escalate conflicts, someone who can stay present in difficult conversations. Someone who offers actual peace rather than just talking about it. People feel it even if they can't name what's different about you. This is the universal moment worth recognizing. Your practice that no one sees creates ripples that affect everyone you encounter. The patience you cultivate in meditation becomes patience with your children when they're testing your limits. The equanimity you develop through watching thoughts arise and pass becomes the ability to stay calm when someone's attacking you unfairly. The compassion you practice directing toward yourself becomes genuine warmth you can offer others who are struggling. None of this is visible to others while it's happening. The hours you spend alone working with your mind, training your attention, developing these capacities, that all happens in private. But the results show up everywhere. You become a different kind of parent, partner, friend, colleague, stranger in line at the grocery store. Not because you're trying to be impressive, but because you've fundamentally shifted your relationship to your own experience. This is what justifies the investment of life energy in practice. Not that you'll achieve some special state or become enlightened in some dramatic way, but that you'll gradually become more capable of living with wisdom, compassion, and presence. More capable of meeting difficulty without being destroyed by it. More capable of loving without grasping. More capable of contributing something genuine to the world instead of just adding more noise and confusion. So the practice of solitude in daily life isn't about withdrawing from the world. It's about creating the conditions for genuine presence. By regularly returning to yourself. By doing the private work of transformation that no one applauds. By choosing practice over distraction in the small moments that accumulate into a life. It's about being like that monk waking alone, practicing alone, working with your own mind in the privacy of your own experience. Not as escape but as the foundation for everything else. The solitude is the training ground. Daily life is where you express what you've learned. And the beautiful thing is you don't need to wait until you're perfect to begin. You don't need to master every teaching or resolve every difficulty before your practice starts benefiting others. Right now, today, the work you do with your own mind matters. The breath you take consciously instead of automatically, that matters. The moment you choose to respond skillfully instead of reactively, that matters. The time you spend sitting in meditation, even though you'd rather be doing something easier, that matters. Not because someone's keeping score or because you'll get a reward, but because this is how transformation actually happens. Through the accumulated weight of choices made again and again in solitude when no one's watching. Because you've decided this matters more than comfort or approval or fitting in. You're making an island of yourself. Stable ground that remains steady even when everything around you is flooding. Not cut off from life, but steady within it. Not superior to others, but reliable in yourself. This is the path you've been walking these past hours. This is the mountain you've been climbing. And the work continues. Not someday when conditions are perfect, but right now in whatever circumstances you find yourself with whatever capacity you have available today. As we come to the end of this journey together, you've walked this path alone for these hours. What you discovered here, the practices, the insights. The understanding of why solitude matters and what it cultivates, you carry with you. Now, the Buddha's teaching is simple and complete, captured in these words from the Dhammapada: not to do any evil, to cultivate good, to purify one's mind. This is the teaching of the Buddhas, not to do any evil. The foundation of how you move through the world. To cultivate good, the active practice of developing what's beneficial to purify one's mind, the solitary work that only you can do. This is the path. Not complicated but not easy either. The old patterns are ending. New understanding is beginning within you and therefore in how you meet everything that comes. Whether you've been listening while working, resting, walking, or lying still, you've been present for something essential. Thank you for sharing this moment of peace across whatever distance separates us. This path is always here when you need it. The mountain remains. The practices wait. The wisdom doesn't disappear just because you return to ordinary life. Picture yourself now standing on your mountain, however high you've climbed. Your voice is ready to reach the valley. Your practice will ripple outward in ways you cannot see. Walk gently. Walk alone when you need to. Walk free until we meet again on the path.